If I were you, I'd wear the blue dress. Emily leaned across the cafe table with the confidence of someone who believed she had just changed my life. I'm serious, Ava. This guy isn't just successful. People in D.C. practically move out of his way when he walks into a room. I laughed. So, a senator? Worse. A lobbyist? She rolled her eyes. No, he's the youngest executive to ever lead Whitmore Strategic Holdings. Half the government contracts in this city have his fingerprints on them. I blinked. That's intimidating. Emily grinned. The good news, he noticed you first. What? At the charity gala last month, he asked who you were. The moment those words left her mouth, translucent comments suddenly appeared across my vision like a live-stream chat. This is real. It has to be Ethan Whitmore. The man never looks at anyone twice. If he asked about her, he's already interested. I had stopped questioning why random floating comments appeared in front of my eyes months ago. They were usually right. Usually? Emily kept talking. He's reserved, doesn't date much. You'll probably have to make the first move. The comments exploded. Text him. Good morning every day. Don't let him lose interest. Confidence wins. I nodded slowly. Okay. She smiled proudly. I'll send you his number. The next morning, I sent my first message. Good morning. Hope your meetings go well today. 5 hours later, thanks. That was it. Cold, professional, emotionless. The comments weren't worried. He's shy. Keep going. So I did. Every morning, every night, memes, coffee recommendations, funny dog videos, pictures of cherry blossoms around the tidal basin. Eventually, I even started calling him Sunshine. I physically cringed remembering that now. His replies never got warmer. They were always short, always polite, always impossible to read. Still, he never blocked me. So naturally, I assumed progress was being made. A month later, I slammed my coffee onto Emily's table. I don't understand him. She frowned. What happened? I've been talking to him every single day. Okay. He's still colder than January. Emily looked confused. Who? Ethan. Silence. Who? Ethan Whitmore? She stared at me, then blinked. Ava? Yeah. I never said his name was Ethan. Everything inside me stopped. What? The guy I introduced you to isn't Ethan. My heartbeat disappeared. I'm sorry. Emily reached for her phone. I think his name was... She scrolled. Ryan. Ryan Brooks. I felt every drop of blood leave my body. No. Emily looked up. What? I slowly pulled out my phone. Pinned at the top. Ethan. Not Ryan, not Brooks. Just Ethan. The floating comments immediately panicked. Wait, that's not the guy? We thought it was Ethan Whitmore? Hold on. Emily never said his last name. I wanted to throw myself directly into the Potomac River. So, Emily said carefully. Who exactly have you been texting? I whispered. I don't know. Emily suddenly gasped. Oh no. What? Ethan Whitmore. Is the CEO. I know. No. She grabbed both my arms. I mean, the Ethan Whitmore. The one every company in Washington tries to impress. The one people are terrified of. The one who once canceled a $1 billion partnership because someone lied to him during negotiations. I couldn't breathe. She kept going. And isn't he rumored to hate people who cross personal boundaries? My soul quietly left my body. A month. I had spent an entire month sending flirty texts to one of the most powerful businessmen in Washington. The comments had absolutely nothing helpful to say. We may have made a small mistake. Small? She called him Sunshine last Tuesday. She sent him a meme that said, "You're obsessed with me." I closed my eyes. I remembered every single message, every single message. I was considering changing my identity when my phone buzzed. Ethan A. photo. I opened it. Inside the picture was a black velvet gift box. Beneath it, "You bought this?" My stomach dropped. 3 days earlier, I had purchased an expensive Swiss watch. I thought celebrating 1 month of talking would be cute. Cute. I was clinically insane. I typed faster than I ever had. I'm so sorry. Please return it. Several minutes passed. Finally, return it? I swallowed, or throw it away. Whatever's easier. Another pause. Then, don't send expensive gifts again. That was all. No anger, no insults, nothing, which somehow felt worse. The floating comments tried to analyze it. He didn't reject her. He rejected the watch. Stop reading into it. I buried my face in my hands. I need to leave the country. Emily nodded immediately. Honestly? Canada isn't far. I barely slept. Every embarrassing text I'd ever sent replayed in my head like a movie. Good morning, sunshine. Don't work too hard today. Bet you're smiling because you saw my message. I buried my face in my pillow. I have to disappear. Unfortunately, my father had other plans. The next morning, he called before I could invent a fake illness. Ava. Morning, Dad. I need a favor. Of course he did. Our team is finalizing the transportation contract with Whitmore Strategic. My heart stopped. You need to drop some documents off at their headquarters. Today? This morning. I stared at the ceiling. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. The floating comments tried to sound optimistic. He won't destroy your dad's company. Business comes first. Just act professional. Professional. Right, I could do professional. For the first time in months, I avoided every outfit Ethan had ever complimented with a simple, looks nice. No dresses, no bright colors, no perfume, no jewelry except a tiny silver watch. I chose a plain cream blouse and navy slacks that practically screamed, I pay my taxes on time. If I looked boring enough, maybe he'd forget I existed. Whitmore Strategic Headquarters towered over Pennsylvania Avenue. 43 floors of polished glass, the kind of building that made people unconsciously straighten their posture. Inside, the lobby was impossibly quiet. Marble floors, dark wood, security that looked more like the Secret Service than reception. The woman behind the desk smiled politely. Miss Carter. I blinked. You know who I am. Mr. Whitmore's assistant informed us you might arrive. My soul attempted another escape. She reached for a phone. I'll have someone escort you to the executive elevator. No! The word came out far louder than intended. Everyone looked at me. I forced a smile. The regular elevator is perfectly fine. The receptionist hesitated. If you're sure? I've never been more sure of anything. The elevator doors opened on the executive floor. I stepped out and nearly walked directly into Ethan. He looked exactly the same as every photo in the business magazines. Tailored charcoal suit, white shirt, no tie, one hand holding a tablet, the other tucked casually into his pocket. He looked up, recognition flashed across his face. Ava. My stomach dropped somewhere around the 22nd floor. Good morning. I cleared my throat. Mr. Whitmore. He paused. For half a second, his expression actually changed. Not anger, not surprise, something stranger. You called me Mr. Whitmore. I blinked. Shouldn't I? He studied me. You've never called me that before. Because I'd spent a month calling him Sunshine. I wanted to evaporate. I brought the project documents. I extended the folder with both hands like a peace offering. I'm just delivering these. He didn't take them. Instead, he looked at me. Really looked at me. You used the public elevator. Yes. My assistant wasn't downstairs. I didn't want to bother anyone. Silence. The floating comments immediately appeared. He's confused. Why is she acting so formal? He wasn't expecting this. I refused to look at them. I'm finished here, I said. I'll leave now. You can wait in my office. No. The answer came too quickly. His eyebrow lifted. No. I mean, I have somewhere else to be. Where? I froze. Where? Think. Anywhere. I'm meeting a friend. Another pause, then ding. A private elevator opened behind him. A woman stepped out. She was effortlessly elegant. Black designer dress, confident smile, the kind of person who looked completely at home on an executive floor. "Ethan." She walked over naturally. "I've been looking everywhere for you." Only then did she notice me. "Oh." Her eyes swept over me. "And who is this?" Before Ethan could answer, survival instinct took over. "I'm here for the transportation project." I smiled politely. "Just business." The woman nodded once. "Of course." Then she turned back to Ethan. "Lunch?" He didn't answer immediately. Instead, his hand gently caught my wrist. Warm, steady, unexpected. "Ava." His voice was calm. "Go wait in my office." Both the woman and I stared at him. "I really don't need to." "You do." Not loud, not forceful, simply certain. The floating comments exploded. Wait, he just told her to wait in his office? In front of another woman? Somebody explain this. I couldn't. Nothing made sense anymore. The woman recovered first. "I'll wait for you." "I won't be long," Ethan replied. She walked away without another word. I remained frozen. He looked back at me. "You still have the folder." I looked down. I had been holding the documents the entire time. "Oh." "Smooth, Ava. Very smooth." He finally accepted them, then nodded toward the hallway. "My office." I considered pretending to faint. Instead, I walked toward the largest office I'd ever seen, because apparently humiliating myself once wasn't enough. Today, the moment the office door closed behind me, I finally breathed. It was enormous. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the Washington Monument, the Capitol dome visible in the distance. Dark walnut shelves lined one wall. Awards, photos with presidents, ambassadors, CEOs. Everything looked impossibly organized. Everything, except one tiny object. Sitting directly in the center of Ethan's desk was a ridiculous little ceramic duck, yellow, cross-eyed, wearing a tiny blue necktie. I stared. No way. It was mine. Well, technically, it had been. 2 weeks earlier, I'd found it in a souvenir shop near Georgetown. It was so unbelievably ugly that I'd laughed for 5 straight minutes before buying it. Then, during one of my more confident moments, I'd sent it to Ethan with a note. "Your office looks too serious. Here." I'd assumed he'd thrown it away immediately. Instead, there it was. Not hidden, not shoved into a drawer, not sitting on a bookshelf. Dead center, right beside his expensive fountain pen. The floating comments instantly appeared. He kept the duck. That is prime desk real estate. Why would he display that thing? Another comment appeared. Maybe he keeps it there as a reminder never to trust crazy women. I stopped smiling. That actually sounded possible. The more I looked at it, the more embarrassed I became. What if visitors asked about it? What if cabinet officials had seen it? What if foreign diplomats had seen it? I couldn't let that happen. No evidence, no duck, no problem. I quietly stepped closer, reached out, carefully lifted it from the desk. Click, the office door opened. "Ava." I froze. Ethan stood in the doorway. His jacket was gone now, sleeves rolled neatly to his forearms. He looked from me to the duck, still sitting in my hand. Silence. The comments immediately lost their minds. "Put it back." She got caught. "Why would you steal something from the CEO's desk?" Nothing. My brain had resigned. Ethan closed the door behind him, then walked toward me, slowly, stopping only a few feet away. "What are you doing?" His voice wasn't angry. It was calm, which somehow made it worse. Think. I thought." He waited. "It was mine." Silence. "You thought," he repeated. "The decoration on my desk belonged to you?" "I mean, it used to." "You gave it to me." "Yes." "So why are you taking it back?" "Because I thought you kept it as evidence against me." Obviously, I couldn't say that. "I assumed you didn't actually want it?" His expression softened, just slightly. I never said that. I figured, you threw it away. He looked at the duck, then back at me. If I had thrown it away, would it still be sitting on my desk? I looked around. He had a point. It wasn't tucked into a corner. It wasn't hidden behind paperwork. It occupied the exact center of the desk, like it belonged there. The comments were having an emotional breakdown. She thought he hated it. He literally put it in the middle of the desk. Men are so bad at communication. I didn't notice. A tiny smile almost appeared. Almost. Clearly. He nodded toward the desk. Put it back. I carefully returned the duck exactly where it had been. He watched the entire time. When I finished, I stepped back like I'd just disarmed a bomb. Ethan sat down across from me. The duck now sat between us, like a very ugly little referee. Neither of us spoke for several seconds. Finally, he folded his hands. The messages. Every muscle in my body tightened. I'm sorry. The words came out immediately. For all of them. The morning texts, the late-night memes, the coffee photos, the watch, the duck, I stopped counting. It won't happen again. He looked genuinely puzzled. Why not? I blinked. What? You said it won't happen again? Yes. Why? The comments completely froze. Wait, that is not the response I expected. I stared at him. I thought... They bothered you. He was quiet, then asked, The texts? Yes. He leaned back slightly. They never bothered me. My brain stopped functioning. What? I told you not to buy expensive gifts. He spoke as though it were obvious. The watch was unnecessary. I never said the messages were. I couldn't process the sentence. So, you weren't annoyed? No. You weren't uncomfortable? No. You weren't planning to block me? A faint crease appeared between his eyebrows. Should I have? I shook my head so quickly it almost hurt. No? Then why would I? The comments absolutely exploded. She apologized for the wrong thing. He only cared about the price of the watch. He liked the texts. Somebody please check my blood pressure? Before I could say another word, someone knocked. Without waiting for permission, the woman from earlier stepped inside. She smiled, then noticed me, then noticed the ceramic duck sitting between Ethan and me. Her smile faltered. Just a little. Ethan, she said. The office became impossibly quiet. The woman stood in the doorway for a moment before recovering her smile. I didn't realize you were busy. I am. Ethan's answer was simple, calm, final. She looked between the two of us. I only needed a minute. He nodded once, then take one. She stepped inside with effortless confidence, placing a folder on his desk. I reviewed tomorrow's presentation. He glanced at it but didn't open it. I'll look later. Her eyes drifted toward me again. You must be Ava. I forced a polite smile. Nice to meet you. I've heard your name. That sentence instantly made my stomach tighten. Really? She smiled pleasantly, quite a few times. The floating comments immediately panicked. She knows about the texts, abort mission, jump out the window. It's nice to finally meet the woman who sends Ethan those morning messages. Silence. Complete, absolute silence. I wanted the floor to open beneath me. Instead, Ethan spoke first. I told you those were private. The woman blinked. I wasn't criticizing. You were discussing them. I only mentioned you shouldn't have. His voice never became louder. If anything, it became quieter, which somehow carried even more weight. She looked genuinely surprised. I didn't think it mattered. It does. Another long silence settled over the room. For the first time since she'd walked in, her confidence slipped. I see. She picked up the untouched folder. I'll email it instead. Thank you. She nodded once, then looked at me. It was nice meeting you. This time, her smile wasn't quite as effortless. When the door closed, I released a breath I hadn't realized I'd been holding. Neither of us spoke immediately. Finally, I cleared my throat. She seemed nice. Ethan looked at the closed door. Claire is efficient. That's all? He looked back at me. Should there be more? The comments screamed. She was fishing. He didn't take the bait. I ignored them. So, I said carefully, she isn't your girlfriend? He actually looked confused. No. Fiancé? No. Someone you're dating? No. Then why does she have access to the private elevator? He answered immediately. She's worked with my family for years. Oh. My father trusted her. That explained absolutely nothing, yet somehow it felt honest. He noticed my expression. You thought she was important. I searched for safer wording. She seemed close to you. We worked together. Nothing more. No hesitation, no awkwardness, just certainty. The floating comments immediately celebrated. Green flag. He answered without her asking twice. He's clarifying on his own. Before I could respond, his phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen. I have 5 minutes before my next meeting. He looked back at me. So, ask? Ask? You've clearly been trying not to. I blinked. What makes you think that? You've looked like someone holding in 12 questions since you arrived. He wasn't wrong. I laughed quietly. Maybe. So? I hesitated, then asked the one thing that had been haunting me for weeks. Why didn't you stop me? He stayed silent. The messages. You could have told me I had the wrong person. I could have. But you didn't. He leaned back slightly. The first day, I assumed you'd realize your mistake. I didn't. I noticed. A tiny smile touched the corner of his mouth. Very quickly. Heat rushed into my face. You could have corrected me. I considered it. What changed? His eyes met mine. You sounded happy. I stared at him. I hadn't received a message that made me smile before work in... He paused. A very long time. The room suddenly felt much quieter. So I kept answering. You answered with one word. I know. You were impossible to read. I know. You replied, thanks, to a picture of cherry blossoms. They were nice cherry blossoms. I laughed despite myself. He watched me, not speaking, just watching. The comments immediately exploded. He likes her laugh. Look at him. This man has been emotionally constipated for years. I almost smiled. Almost. Then another memory hit me. Oh no. What? The memes. His eyebrow lifted. What about them? I sent you... I buried my face in my hands. 37 memes. 39. Slowly, I looked back up. You counted? I saved them. Silence. What? I have a folder. A folder. On my phone. My brain stopped functioning. The memes. Yes. The ones where I kept saying you secretly liked me? Yes. Why? He answered with complete sincerity. They're funny. The comments completely lost their collective minds. He saved them. He made a folder. I repeat, this man made a folder. I stared at him in absolute disbelief. For the first time. Ethan actually smiled. It wasn't big. It lasted barely a second. But it was real. And somehow, that tiny smile changed everything. For the rest of the week, I avoided Ethan. Well, I tried to. Unfortunately, my father seemed determined to throw us into the same room every chance he got. By Friday evening, I stood in front of my bedroom mirror, adjusting the sleeves of a navy evening dress. Simple, elegant, safe, no bright colors, no dramatic heels, no chance of accidentally looking like I had dressed specifically for Ethan Whitmore. The floating comments appeared immediately. She absolutely dressed for him. Denial is a powerful thing. I ignored them, again. The annual Transportation Partnership Gala occupied nearly the entire ballroom of the Jefferson Hotel. Government officials, executives, military officers, foreign investors, everyone important in Washington seemed to be there. Crystal chandeliers reflected off polished marble floors while a string quartet played softly near the stage. Dad spotted me almost immediately. "There you are." He smiled proudly. "You look wonderful." "Thanks. Come with me." My stomach sank. "I want you to say hello to someone." Of course he did. We crossed the ballroom. Every step increased my anxiety. Then I saw him. Ethan stood near one of the tall windows, speaking with several senators and 2 cabinet officials. He looked completely at ease. Tailored black tuxedo, hands in his pockets, listening more than speaking, yet somehow everyone else seemed to wait for his opinion. Dad waved. "Ethan!" He turned. The moment he noticed me, his expression softened almost imperceptibly. "Good evening." Dad laughed. "You two already know each other." Before I could answer, Ethan looked directly at me. "Good evening, Ava." I smiled politely. "Good evening." I hesitated. "Mr. Whitmore." His jaw tightened. Just slightly. Dad completely missed it. "I'll leave you two for a minute." He walked away with the enthusiasm of a father who believed he had just engineered destiny. The second he disappeared, Ethan looked at me. "Mr. Whitmore?" "It's a formal event." So, I thought it was appropriate. "We've exchanged almost 500 messages." "Approximately." "You've called me Sunshine." I covered my face. "Please don't remind me." "You've sent me 43 pictures of coffee." "I like coffee." "I've noticed. You've called me Ethan every day for a month." I sighed. "I know." "So, why?" he asked quietly. "Am I suddenly Mr. Whitmore?" I looked down at my glass. "Because it's safer." His eyebrows drew together. "For who?" Before I could answer, the host stepped onto the stage. "Ladies and gentlemen." Dinner was about to begin. Guests began moving toward their assigned tables. I checked my seating card. Table 7. I looked toward the ballroom. Ethan was walking to table 7. The comments exploded. "Of course, someone is playing matchmaker." I seriously considered hiding in the restroom until dessert. Instead, I took my seat, directly beside him. Conversation flowed naturally around the table. Infrastructure, economic policy, transportation funding, topics I barely understood. Ethan spoke only when necessary, yet every time he did, the table listened. Halfway through dinner, someone approached. Claire. She smiled warmly at everyone, then at Ethan. "I was wondering if you'd join us after dinner." "I'm staying here." "Oh." Her eyes shifted toward me. "I didn't realize you already had company." Nobody said anything. Claire smiled again, then casually placed her phone on the table. "I actually came because something funny reminded me of you." She unlocked the screen. I immediately recognized the conversation. My conversation. Screenshots, the good morning texts, the coffee photos, the ridiculous memes, even the message where I'd written, "You're definitely smiling because of me. Admit it." My heart stopped. She looked around the table. "I thought everyone might enjoy seeing just how persistent some people can be." Silence. Absolute silence. Dad slowly looked at me, then at Ethan, then back at me. I wanted to disappear forever. Claire smiled sweetly. "I hope you don't mind." Before anyone else could react, Ethan calmly picked up her phone. He read the screen for a few seconds. Then, without changing expression, he locked it, placed it back in front of her, and finally spoke. "Yes." The room remained silent. "She sent every one of those messages." Claire's smile returned. "I knew you'd. I read every single one." She stopped talking. I looked forward to them. Nobody moved. I still do. The comments completely exploded. He said it in front of everyone. This man just declared his feelings at a gala. Ethan continued as calmly as if he were discussing quarterly profits. "I've saved most of them." Claire's expression cracked. Dad nearly dropped his wine glass. I couldn't breathe. "The watch she's embarrassed about." He glanced at his wrist. "I wear it almost every day." Only then did I notice it. The Swiss watch. The one I'd begged him to return. It was on his wrist. Nobody spoke. Not immediately. Claire stood frozen beside the table, still staring at the watch on Ethan's wrist as if she'd never seen it before. My father slowly looked from Ethan to me, and then quietly took another sip of water. Apparently, even he had no idea what to say. Finally, Claire forced a smile. I didn't realize. Ethan met her eyes. I know. She picked up her phone. I'm sorry if I overstepped. You did. Not harsh, not emotional, just honest. Claire nodded once. I won't do it again. Thank you. She turned and walked away. The moment she disappeared into the crowd, the entire table suddenly found their food incredibly interesting. Nobody mentioned what had just happened. No one wanted to be the first. Dinner somehow continued. People discussed contracts, budgets, infrastructure. Everything except the fact that one of Washington's most reserved executives had practically confessed in front of half the city's elite. I couldn't concentrate. Every few seconds, I caught myself glancing toward Ethan. Every single time, he was already looking at me. The floating comments were having a complete meltdown. He's been looking at her for 10 minutes. Someone check if she's still breathing. I'm not breathing. When dessert was served, I quietly excused myself. I'll be back. No one stopped me. The cool evening air hit my face the moment I stepped onto the terrace overlooking the National Mall. The Capitol glowed softly in the distance. Traffic hummed below. For the first time all evening, everything felt quiet. I leaned against the stone railing. What just happened? I whispered to myself. I happened. His voice came from behind me. I closed my eyes. Of course he had followed me. Ethan walked to the railing beside me. Neither of us spoke for nearly a minute. Washington shimmered beneath us. Finally, he broke the silence. You ran away. I needed oxygen. Fair. Another pause. Then I looked at him. You embarrassed me. His eyebrows lifted. I defended you. In front of everyone. They were laughing at you. I know. I didn't like that. The simplicity of the sentence somehow hit harder than anything else he'd said tonight. I could have handled it. I know. So why? He looked out over the city. Because nobody gets to make you feel small. The comments instantly appeared. Oh, that was illegal. Someone write that down. I looked away before he noticed my face turning red. After another silence, I finally asked the question that had been bothering me since the office. Why did you keep answering me? He smiled faintly. You really want to know? I do. The first week? I assumed you were confusing me with someone else. I was. I know. You still answered. I was curious. About what? You. I frowned. Me? You weren't trying to impress me. I laughed. I absolutely was. He shook his head. No. You thought I was someone else. You weren't trying to impress Ethan Whitmore? You were simply being yourself. I stared at him. He continued quietly. You sent photos of coffee because you liked coffee. You complained about traffic. You showed me dogs you met on morning walks. You texted me every time you discovered a new bookstore. A tiny smile appeared. You even apologized to me because your plant died. I buried my face in my hands. I forgot about that. I didn't. I told you my basil was dramatic. You did. I can't believe you remember that. I remember all of it. Silence. The comments had become unusually quiet. Finally, one appeared. He fell in love with the real her before she even knew who he was. For once, none of the others argued. You know what the funniest part is? Ethan asked. What? I almost corrected you. When? The second day. What stopped you? He looked at me. I wanted to see how long it would take before you realized. I laughed. It took a month. It did. You must have thought I was insane. I thought you were... He searched for the word. Unexpected. That's a polite way of saying insane. A genuine smile appeared, small, warm. No? He shook his head. I've met thousands of people in this city. Most of them introduce themselves by telling me what they want. And me? You introduced yourself with a picture of a squirrel stealing someone's sandwich. I blinked. I forgot I sent that. I didn't. He looked toward the city lights again. It made me laugh. Another quiet settled between us. Not awkward. Comfortable. For the first time since all of this had begun, I wasn't nervous anymore. I was simply happy. Then Ethan turned toward me. Ava. Yeah? Can I ask you something? I nodded. If Emily had given you the right number that day? He paused. Would you ever have met me? I thought about it, about the wrong contact, the embarrassing messages, the sleepless nights, the panic, the duck, the watch, everything. Then I smiled. To be continued,